Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on how to enable SSH on VMware vSphere ESXi hypervisors. This tutorial is aimed at those new to ESXi or those just getting started with ESXi. SSH or Secure Shell is supported on VMware vSphere and it's commonly used to provide secure remote access to hosts. Typically, system administrators use SSH to make configuration changes which can only be done from the command line, or sometimes admins simply prefer to use the command line instead of the vSphere client for certain tasks. By default, Secure Shell is disabled and it can be enabled either from the console interface or by using the vSphere client. My personal preference is to use the console, and I typically enable SSH during the install process. In this tutorial I will show you how to use both methods. This is probably one of the easiest tasks to perform on vSphere, but it can be frustrating for those of you new to vSphere. To get started, you will need a few things. First, make sure you have console access to your host. We will cover this method first. You will also need an SSH client to test access to your host once we've enabled it. There's a lot of SSH clients available. Some are free, some are paid for apps. In this tutorial I'll be using PuTTY, which is a freeware client. Finally, you will also need to install the VMware vSphere client, and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, let's get started. When you connect to your VMware console, you'll be presented with the following view. Notice in the bottom left hand corner you have an option to select function key 2 or F2 to customize the system. Press F2 in order to log in and authenticate. Once logged in and successfully authenticated, you will see a menu interface with a number of different options. We're going to cover those options in a later tutorial. For now, we are interested in enabling SSH from the console. You will find the option to enable SSH under the troubleshooting options. Scroll down to troubleshooting options and press return. You will notice on the second line we have an option to enable SSH. Our current state is SSH is disabled, and to enable it we simply press enter to change. Once I press enter, you will notice that SSH is now enabled and I have the option to disable SSH. That's it. Very straightforward. We can now go ahead and test our SSH access. I use an SSH client called PuTTY. It's available as a freeware download from putty.org. Feel free to download it and explore it. First thing I'm going to do is provide the IP address of my ESXi host, and I'm going to attempt to remotely log in to my host. If you can successfully log in, that means your SSH is active and enabled, and we will explore in future tutorials exactly what we do using SSH when we remotely connect to our ESXi host. But for now we wanted to verify that SSH is active. Next we'll take a look at how do we use the VMware vSphere client to achieve the same. You will need to first download the vSphere client and install it before we can explore the user interface and how we enable SSH as an example. If you already have the vSphere client installed, simply fast forward this video tutorial to the point where you see the vSphere client being launched. In order to download the client, open up a web browser and point it to the IP address of your ESXi host, and you'll be presented with this VMware ESXi 5.1 welcome screen. On there is a link to download the vSphere client, and you can simply click on it to start the download process. Do note, however, that this download does not come directly from the ESXi host, but it's redirected to VMware and you will be downloading the client over the internet. So make sure that the PC on which you do this does have internet access. Once you've finished downloading and installing the vSphere client, go ahead and launch the app. Provide the IP address of your ESXi host and your login credentials, and click on login to connect to your ESXi host using the vSphere client. Once you've successfully logged in, you'll be presented with this user interface, and for now we're going to focus on the SSH components. First thing I'd like you to do is to navigate over to the summary tab and pay attention to the warning message telling you that, or informing you that SSH for this host has been enabled. This is simply a preliminary early warning just to inform administrators that remote access for this particular host has been enabled. Some admins prefer to disable these messages. I'll show you how you can disable this in a minute. Let's go on over to the configuration tab. This is where we will enable services like SSH, for example. Go over to the security profile, go to the properties, and if you scroll down, you will notice that SSH is one of our services that is currently active, and this is the method we will use to enable or disable SSH using the vSphere client. We can go into options and we can simply stop the SSH service, and we have disabled SSH to our host. I will launch my SSH client PuTTY and quickly attempt to connect to my host, and I should get a error message that I cannot connect to the host at this point in time because the service is not running. Let's go back and enable the service again. And if we connect to the host using PuTTY again, I should be able to log in. Okay, so these are the two methods to enable and disable SSH, one from the console, the other from the vSphere client. One last thing I'd like to show you is if you would like to get rid of the configuration message alerting you to the fact that SSH is enabled, you can do this under the advanced settings option. Navigate over to the configuration tab, advanced settings, scroll down to user vars and scroll down all the way to the very last option, which is the setting that enables or disables the appearance of the warning message. It is currently set to a value of 0, which means that the warning will not be suppressed, and if we want to change the value to 1, click on OK. And if we go over to the security profile again and we look at the services, you will notice that let's go into the properties. That's easier to look at it that way. Your SSH is still running, but if you go over to the summary tab, you no longer have the message appearing that shows you SSH is enabled. That is it for this tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Thank you for watching.